Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about the oil field workers in Alberta. The two things I'll talk about basically are their rewards and compensations, and also their health and safety issues. Because as you may know, there's a lot of health and safety issues in the oil the oil industry, and there is also lots of lucrative rewards. So I'll jump right in, and I'll talk about the rewards and compensations of these oil field workers. So, rewards and compensations. One thing that's great about the oil field is that you only need high school as a prerequisite. You don't need a degree. You don't need a CEGEP. Well, technically you need a year of CEGEP, but you don't need to complete it. And well, that's only to work as a common oil field worker. That's not to work as the higher management, and there you need a degree or something like that. But for the oil field workers, common workers, you only need high school. So that's that. There's lots of opportunities to advance with experience also. Say you work 5 years in the oil field. Maybe you'll advance to supervisor, and the pay will increase with that. And they say that it takes about 10 years if you're an extremely great worker, if you're a safe worker, if you're an efficient worker. They say it takes about 10 years to go and work on the oil rigs at sea. Um, that's a very, very lucrative job because I'll explain it a bit later. It's also extremely dangerous. So you need the best of the best in there. And here I'm talking about in 2014 or and earlier, there were lots of positions open. Oil prices were the oil industry basically was soaring back then, especially in Alberta. So lots of people quit their job in Quebec, say, or just said, "Oh, I'll move to Alberta and work in the oil industry." Nowadays, as you'll see in my presentation in class, nowadays it's a bit well. Let's say it's a bit more complicated to move to Alberta. There's a now I'm jumping in right in the health and social safety issues. I'm sorry about that. Working on an oil field is extremely dangerous because well, you work with dangerous gas, you work with extremely flammable material, right? Oil right underneath you. If someone smokes or something, the whole place could blow up. Basically, I'm exaggerating here a bit, but it could. Uh, of course, there's health and safety measures implemented already. Let's say you need to wear a hard hat, or you need to wear boots with metal toe caps to not drop something on there and break your foot. You may also need to wear a gas mask if you go down to maybe fix something to not inhale any toxic gases because those toxic gases can have extremely lasting effects. Some of them you might not even realize you inhaled them until it's already too late. Let's say CO2. Is it CO2? Yeah, monoxide of CO, basically carbon monoxide. If you inhale that, you don't know what it is. It smells just the same as air. But if you stay in there too long, you're gonna pass out and die. It's an extremely dangerous gas, and I think they also use it in the oil rigs. Uh, as I said, I was talking about the earlier slide. The oil rigs at sea are extremely dangerous. They're extremely dangerous. They say it's one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. And you can just look back to 2011 or about that, maybe 2008, when there was the BP disaster where an oil rig blew up and it killed about 200 people, and the environmental consequences were also very, very bad. And that just shows how much one single thing, one speck of sand in the machine, can simply screw the whole thing up, right? I don't know exactly how the BP disaster happened, but it might have been just one small mistake that did a chain reaction and just blew up in their faces. Now, as I said in the earlier slide, there's already health and safety measures that are implemented for the workplace. But I'm taking this from a friend who worked in there in the oil fields about 2 years ago. Those health and safety issues are not always respected. And he gave me two reasons. One is that since employees are trained on the job, They say it's about 3 months, 3 to 6 months, sorry, that you need to be trained before you can legally work there, before you're officially an employee. The the trainees, they basically look at the people and see what they're doing. Let's say someone's not wearing a hard hat for this one specific task. Well, the trainee might say, "Oh, okay, well, I don't need to wear a hard hat for this." So he takes on bad habits. He can take on extremely bad habits that can harm him in the long run. And he also says that sometimes the work is too demanding or too pressing to respect health and safety issues. He told me once that he needed to carry a huge metal rod, maybe, well, I won't say in pounds because I don't exactly know how it is, but it was extremely heavy. And since there were no more trucks available and the workers at the other end of the oil field needed it very quickly, he needed to walk with the big metal rod on his shoulder about 2 or 3 kilometers till he got to the point. Now, nothing bad happened to him, but first off, carrying a metal rod on your shoulder can really hurt. If you say you place it wrong, you can dislocate your shoulder. If you fall, you can break your arm. You could even have it stuck under the rod. So the oil field workers are taking a really big risk going to work there. And while I'm talking back in the day, it was extremely, well, back in the day in 2014, but back then it was extremely lucrative. Since you only needed a high school education and you started about, he told me that after 2 years of working there, he had $80,000 a year. So that's not too bad for a guy that's not educated, well, too much. That's not that doesn't have a degree basically. And here are my sources for the video. Thanks for listening.